Welcome to One on One. I'm Greg Bassey, your host for the Salisbury Independent. It's legislature time. Our people are in Annapolis. They've already started, and we are lucky to have our local delegate, Carl Anderton, here to tell us more about what's going on in Annapolis, and talk about some of the local issues. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Professor. The jacket's awesome. We were just talking off air about, you have that very studious
Your
professor
jacket
look,
is way better.
Oh, I'm rocking the Brent Miller collection today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Our local realtor wears the great
awesome.
jackets.
Yeah.
But you can't wear that on the floor of the legislature, can you, that jacket?
We'll find out.
Didn't you have to have a suit on up there?
Oh, there's pants that match.
Oh, you have matching pants?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to think about that.
Yeah.
But tell us what's going on in Annapolis. This is your third session already.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah.
And crazy blessed. It's just incredible, the way things have worked for us, and it's really neat seeing how things come together. First off, with this governor in place, Governor Hogan is awesome. I've spent so much time with him over the past year.
You seem to like him.
And,
you mentioned him very glowingly a lot.
Absolutely, because anytime we need anything, he's always coming through for us. And I'm gonna knock on wood and hope that trend continues. But when he says something, he genuinely means it, and I admire that, and I think it's awesome. And but coming into this session, we've got some unique things ahead of us. The budget, of course, is very, very tight.
Anywhere from a $300 to $500 million deficit, depending on who you listen to.
Right, and a lot of that is how's the best way to describe it? There's a committee that sets like the spending affordability numbers, and, and sometimes they kind of go to as far out as they possibly can, and we know that's not realistic,
right?
So it's always somewhere in the middle, and so with what we really expect and what we hope to expect, and so if we fall right in that line, we're probably where we are with about that difference. But saying that, that really makes a lot of the discretionary spending the governor has a lot tighter.
Right.
So he's got about $15 million to spend statewide discretionally.
Which is almost nothing.
Which is almost nothing, right. So we're hoping to get a piece of that.
Right now, there's a story in the next Salisbury Independent. I was just looking at it today. It's in development, but it mentions that you're working with Mayor Jake Day to get some money for downtown. What would that be for?
Wait, I'm in the Salisbury Independent?
You're going to be in an upcoming edition of the Salisbury Independent?
That is awesome. We've made it. We've made it. No.
Yes, in fact, I was just laying out the page yesterday, and your photo was at the top.
Mayor's great. I love Jake. Jake's become a really close friend of mine. He's awesome. And so, as you know, they have the downtown Salisbury master plan, which is a huge $200 million public-private joint venture to add more commercial, retail, and residential space downtown in conjunction with the university and Purdue's relocating the training facility. Downtown.
We've got all the entities
all these things
cooperating on this finally. Yeah.
And the way it works for us, the way I see us as legislators, is the local government is the biggest piece. The county executive, the mayor in Salisbury, the mayor in Delmar, the council president in Fruitland. For me, it's their vision, and all I do is act as a piece of conduit between their vision, and the administration, the budget, the governor, to kind of put those pieces together and see if we can make them work. And the governor is really interested in this project. So is the Commerce Secretary Mike Gill, and so the interest is there. They see the viability of the project, but the problem is, as I've just mentioned, with the budget constrictions,
there's no money.
There's $15 million available, and there's upwards of $170 million in requests as of now, and that number is changing all the time. So I'm hoping, we've been lobbying for this since June, so we started working on the proposed budget before it was proposed in hopes of getting something, in there. So we've been, speaking with folks all summer about this, and hopefully, we'll have some good news coming up.
So it's like camping out to buy concert tickets. You've been there
Yes,
even before the concert was
absolutely.
announced.
Yeah, we had a tent, we had an air bed, we had TV, we whittled an entertainment center out of a piece of wood. I mean, we're set. We've been there, and so we'll see. And that's just kind of what we did with Purdue Stadium, with that, and with the Civic Center projects at SU. I only know one way, and that's to start early and start at the top.
Right. The trick with Purdue, which was very insightful and intriguing to me, was that didn't get the money all at once, asked for it over a period of years.
Yeah, this governor will not, go out and blow open the future years of budgeting, and create further deficits on purpose, just to give you all your money at once that you're asking for. So he phases it out. It's very fiscally minded, conservative, smart, whatever the word is you want to put next to it.
Right.
Fiscally astute. So we have to learn in this new way of doing things that once you get in, you're in the budget, but you have to, it could take you 3 years and 3 pieces or 2 pieces or 4 pieces.
And the work can
depending on the
start
amount.
because you all know the money's
work can start,
coming.
and you paying as you're going. It's pay-go, so as best as I can explain it.
Yeah.
But it's really neat process seeing how that is put together, and so we've been pretty successful in the past, and I'm really hoping that we can help play a part in moving this project forward with the mayor's vision.
Well, the governor's been to our downtown a couple times.
Absolutely.
Spent a lot of time here.
Yep.
You see governors breeze in and out, but he actually spent some good time here on a Friday. He was here at one of the third Friday events, which was tremendous. What Jake says in the paper, though, he said that he says Hagerstown got $7 million, and now we want our share. So it reminded me of my kids lining up. You know, well, you gave Will $5. We're
exactly right, and that's why I love that guy, man, because he's right. If you're getting yours, I got to get mine.
Right.
Right. So, and so we'll see. Hagerstown was given a commitment letter. They didn't receive $7 million at once, of course. Right. So I'm fully hoping and expecting that we'll be in the same line with them. But it is neat. The governor comes through all the time. The comptroller's been here a lot. Speaker of the House, Mike Bush, we hung out.
He snuck in town recently,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity. We were supposed to meet for 15 minutes. We were there for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just we were talking about football, really.
Yeah.
And so it's just really good having these connections with all different facets of state government. I really would like to think that we're positioned in a good spot so that no matter what comes up, we have an avenue to kind of go after it. And
you're kind of a conservative guy, a Republican.
Right.
Conservative base probably helped you get elected.
Right.
The conservatives will say, why would the state put $7 million? Not that they would. Why would they put any money into downtown Salisbury? And it's like they don't understand that by that thing growing, that the tax benefit will go back to the state. It's like with beach replenishment.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
If you spend $100 million on beach replenishment, you're protecting $10 billion worth of real estate, which is all being taxed.
Right.
It's all works out financially.
Right, absolutely.
But do you get that kind of question? Is it hard to explain to people what it's about? Okay.
Not really. I mean, because we're not looking at 200 or 300 million in tax money, tax dollars. We're looking at our highway user revenues, which is our local share of the gas tax.
Killed us.
So cumulatively, the city has been shorted about $7 million.
Yeah.
And so we kind of looked at it as, well, we're just getting our money back instead of anything above and beyond, just being made whole. And now the county, of course, has been shorted upwards of $50 million. Over that same period of time. And so if you add the shortage in Delmar, the shortage in Fruitland, the county and Salisbury, it's about $60 million taken out of, our infrastructure. Right. And so this money, from the state, if we are able to make that happen, will go to infrastructure, water, wastewater, and that type of thing that the highway user revenues would go to. So
right.
I am extremely tight when it comes to money, too tight sometimes. Like, for example, buying a TV. By the time I'm ready to buy a TV, the TV's out of date.
Right.
So, because I'm constantly looking for the best deal.
That's why I still have the iPhone 3.
Yeah. Do you really?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, wow, man. That's impressive. That's tight.
Speaking of tight, I forgot to ask you this last time you were here, and someone jumped on me. tax differential.
Yep.
You were the mayor in Del Mar, so you
Absolutely.
understand the tax
Totally.
differential.
Absolutely.
Most politicians don't even want to talk about it
I
at
have no
all.
problem talking about it.
You were happy to talk about it
Yeah.
for a while, and then
Yep.
it seemed like you sort of stopped talking about it.
Well, it's because there's so many other things to talk about, and you only give me 20 minutes, brother.
So, what is the tax
yes,
differential, and why don't politicians
absolutely.
want to talk about
Sure.
this thing?
I don't know why they don't want to talk about it, but I'll be glad to. Absolutely.
Right.
I live it.
As a former mayor, you get
Sure.
it, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
When you live in a municipality, you're paying municipal taxes, and you're paying taxes on public works, administration, and all these different facets of your government. While Wycomico is one of two counties in the state
Right.
where you pay that same tax to the county government, so
Right.
you're legitimately double taxed, and you don't use county public works, county administration, or none of those facets of
Right.
county government.
You're using the city services.
Right, and so every other county in the state does an offset, and it's usually either a grant written to the municipality offsets their property tax rate, or it's a true property tax offset.
Right.
So in order for us to do that here in Wycomico, well, we could do it at any time, but the sides don't really seem to.
It would cost the county revenue.
It would, and so I really have come around to the county side. I don't want to see the county taxes increase
Right.
for the municipal taxes to decrease.
Right.
So there is the money available. We're looking at about $1.5 million a year is the offset.
Right.
So the county had a $140 million budget. I think
It's not a lot of money.
no, relatively speaking, but
Right.
it is to the individual homeowner.
Right.
To the individual homeowner on a fixed income, and that's what drives me, is somebody who's worked and retired and they're on a fixed pension, or they're disabled and they have their home, and these taxes, they're paying twice as much, for the convenience of living.
Right.
You know-
Again, to make it all about the newspaper, I was
Right.
just doing the home of the month in our real estate section, and I was editing that.
Right.
So I was looking at the home online, and I saw that the county taxes for the home were $3,000 a year.
Right.
And the city taxes were $2,000 a year. And it was in this neighborhood, which is over by where the water treatment plant is. And I'm sure like 100 feet from this house, it's probably just the county.
Right.
So you're living in a part of the city that's not really even connected to the
Right.
city, except across the river. And you're paying an extra $2,000 a year to be in the city. And I can see where you're paying $5 instead of your neighbors paying $3.
Sure,
That,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's $200 a month's a lot of money.
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
So I can see where
Right.
this is the inequity might exist.
Right, and so, it is still a priority of mine, but it's got to be done in the right way. And I've said that all along, even when I was mayor. I didn't want to see, my neighbor in the county, his taxes go up. It's not fair to punish, to reward.
Right.
Even though it's really not a reward per se, it's really just kind of fixing the playing field.
And there's some incentive to live in the city.
Right, absolutely. And
Yep.
and the goal is, of course, you want to have everybody live near your existing infrastructure.
Right.
So in order to do that, to make it more conducive to somebody willing to buy a home there, you have to make it, as appealing as possible. And
Right.
it takes. It's interesting to see how it's been done. Frederick County did it last year. And so once we have the county government and the three municipalities on the same page, we can go forward with that. And so I'm really just waiting.
Right. Now, sort of the rehearsal for this is the negotiations going on with the fire services agreement.
Absolutely.
And this is where the county is going to pay the city some of its expenses to provide emergency service into the county.
Right. So with that, I'm just watching.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But you're right. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's another like tax differential. For years, no one wanted to
Right.
talk about this,
Right.
and now finally they're talking about it.
Right. And the bill we had last year,
Yeah.
that Senator Mathias was a huge help on the last day of session to get this bill moved and passed, was to replace some of the money that was cut from the disparity grant fund that
Right.
Wycomico benefits from. And so, as you know, I guess it was probably it was probably somewhere around 2012, 2013. Under the previous administration, the county was asked to bump up its piggyback tax to the maximum amount to receive additional disparity grant funding. Well, at the same time, they raised this tax, that fund was cut. So what we did is we put a bill in to bring it back.
Right.
And so we landed somewhere in the middle, so it's an extra $1 million a year for the county. So in essence, you could say that might be, something that could be utilized for the offset. But, you know, that whole disparity grant debate is going to happen again as they want to kind of reassess that whole program. And so you're seeing a lot of that happen with different programs around the state. They're starting to look at them and make sure that it's going where it really is going,
Right.
you know, and as dollars become, you know, finally, to my colleagues across the bridge, you know, more finite. You know, as I used to joke all the time when I was in the mayor in Delmar with the budget, I named every dollar. You know, there's Craig, there goes Keith. You know, because it's not mine.
Right.
It's yours.
Right.
You know, I mean, if I'm not going, why would I waste? I don't want to waste your money. You worked hard for it.
Right.
Or I think you do anyway.
In theory.
Yeah, right. You know, so you know, it's a lot of different things. That's what makes, you know, I'm just incredibly blessed to have this opportunity. But you know, in spite of all, in addition, not in spite, that's the wrong word. In addition to all that, I think the thing I take the most serious is when somebody calls with an issue.
I was going to say that. You mentioned
Yeah.
the senator. He's
Yeah.
well known for his
Right.
constituent service, and you've developing the same reputation where you will help people get their stuff fixed.
Absolutely. You know,
We were at a thing last week, and he was
Right.
helping a man with his electric bill.
yeah,
He was like lobbying the Delmarva Power guy
Yeah.
about the electric bill.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it worked.
It worked.
And we got it done. And
Can I talk to you about my power bill? Can I?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. But you know, it was really cool, and it, you know, when those things happen, when you're lucky to make something work for somebody who really needs it,
Yeah.
like that person was on a fixed income, and they were really
It was a
struggling
simple
with their due
fix
date. It was
about the due date.
just moving the due date, but
Yeah.
they've been trying for years on their own.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, calling the 1-800 number and not getting any traction, and so you know, as you saw, I go right to the
Right.
to the top and say, okay, can we move this 4 days? You know, but just something that little, you know, changes their life. You
Yeah.
know, their entire livelihood now has changed because of that, and so it really gives me goosebumps, and I have to catch myself because sometimes, I mean, it just gets it just really makes it all worth it. You know, all the doors we knocked on, and everybody taking a chance on me, being able to do something even that small to help somebody's life, you know, makes all the time away from home, all the hours on the road in Annapolis back and forth, worth it. You know, and we're not always able to fix it, and that's the hardest phone call I have to make.
Right.
And I'd almost rather fundraise for money, which is something else I loathe,
Right.
than have to call somebody and tell them, I'm sorry, there's nothing more that I can do.
Right.
And it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while it will. We'll just reach a ceiling that we can't bust through.
Yeah.
And it really messes you up because you expect to be able to fix everything. You know, I come from the mindset, like I didn't go to college or anything like that. I just really think everything's simple.
Right. And
You know, it's that easy.
But that's part of your charm, and I think it helps
Yeah.
you get access to these other people because of that, because you don't have this other motive.
No, I have no motives.
Yeah.
my motive, man, if I can make whatever you do a little bit more enjoyable, then that makes what I do
Right.
more enjoyable. I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, I'm just, you know, it's really neat grocery shopping now. I do it now. My wife won't go anymore. It used to take 20 minutes. You know,
Oh, you
it's
get
about
stuck.
3 hours now.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. I will sit and talk to somebody all day because I work for them. That's my boss.
Right.
You know,
And if you're short with them, they'll remember.
that's right. So I will sit. I have sat there. I have had people go through my cart, you know, asking what all that ice cream is for. I know it's for me, but I say, oh, it's not mine. You know, I need more salad in my diet. Apparently, you know, it's okay. We'll try it. But so that part of, you know, life has changed, and it's fun in a very fun way. And you know, so and you have to be nice to everybody. Like when you stand in line in a grocery store, you know how it is. You're standing there and you're like, you know, you got to sit there and smile because somebody knows you.
Right.
Somebody's going to say, "What's up?" You know. So.
And you always want to
Right.
be caught doing the right thing.
Well, yeah, absolutely caught doing the right thing. Yeah. So, no, but it's cool. I mean, I've always been the person. I'm just happy to be alive, man. You know, I don't really have a bad day.
I shouldn't ask this, which is why I shouldn't ask it, but I'm going to anyway because I'm like that. Is there a lot of pressure? You replaced a guy who brought lots of not pork money, but brought lots of money back for us. And that was sort of the rap in the election. We'll lose that money forever. is that pressure to you, or you're in a different role? Do you ever hear that? I mean, how does that feel?
No, I mean, I heard it during the election, of course,
Yeah.
but everything that our local governments have asked for, they've gotten. So everything Salisbury University's asked for, they've gotten, or they will get in this budget that's coming out now.
Right.
It takes a lot of work, to have something built or something done, and so, to an extent, I admire Delegate Conway for things that he got done, because it's a lot of work. It's not easy.
He was a good guy.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, when the first time I went grocery shopping, I ran into him in the grocery store, and I was talking to him about why why my wife wasn't there and why I was doing it. And he pulled out his list and he said, "The same thing happened to me, and let me tell you, the list will be yours forever." So, yeah, no, and
that's the kind of guy he was,
right.
though.
And I get it. I mean, when my wife was in school, like I said, working in grocery stores and digging graves.
Yeah.
I mean, you do what you got to do to get it done, and so it's. I think
I think it helps you coming from that perspective. It helped Norm, certainly.
Yeah, I think so. I hope anyway. I mean, because I don't really see myself as nothing. So, and like I said, I mean, it's that simple. Whatever role I can play to point you in a direction to get something accomplished. I mean, that's what it's all about. It beats all the other stuff. It's really cool recognizing people with citations and submitting 50 bills and all that stuff. I mean, it's great. But it's for me, the point is kind of being that conduit for you, and I call everybody. If somebody calls the Annapolis office with an issue, I call them from my cell phone and make sure they have my number.
Yeah, we're going to give you your cell phone here.
Absolutely.
Here in a minute. We're going to do that.
And but the reason I do that is because for me, when I wanted to speak with somebody in the legislature or anywhere, I couldn't. I had to talk to somebody that works for them and hope. To get that message across, and then that person at the desk would call me back, and there was no direct contact, and
right.
I'm not a fan of that.
And that was one of Norm's problems. Norm had gotten so big and important, he was a little bit insulated.
Sure.
And on the campaign trail, you would hold your phone up and say, "Here's my number. Call me anytime." So today, when we were calling you, Tom's like, "Do you have his number?" I'm like, "Everyone in the county's got his number."
Right. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. If you call at 3 in the morning. I probably won't answer, but I'll call you at 6.
Which, when I was in the jail that time, I thought maybe you could help me, but
well, I would have hooked you up, brother.
No, you didn't help. You didn't answer at 3 in the morning.
That was the payphone you called from. So.
I got to ask you about your delegation. I was talking to one of the local poobahs the other day. Poobah, and they said, "What do you think of the delegation?" I said, "I don't think they're gelling. I don't know that they're that good." And he said,
"What?"
That's exactly what he said. And he said, "No, it's the best delegation we've had in forever. They work together. They're not sniping each other. Right. They get along with Matthias and Sheree. The Republicans dominate. Mm-hmm. And they all have their own great personal stories, who they are and how they got there. Right. You've got Mary Beth with Ocean City and working with her family. Right. You've got Chris Adams with the family business thing, that local businessman who feels
same thing with Johnny,
obliterated by the state. Johnny, same thing out there. Everyone's got their story. Matthias, the boardwalk guy. Charles Otto has ridden a tractor. I mean, just smart people who get it. And I'm wrong. You guys are gelling. You guys are a great representation of the shore.
You didn't think we got it right now?
Well, I've seen in the history, it was always some delegate was going to run against the senator, and there was always elbows under the basket.
But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think I work with probably the smartest group of people that I've ever been associated with. I mean, every one of those folks, Johnny and Chris and Mary Beth and Sheree, Jim, Addie, way smarter than I could ever be. And so I just thrive being around them because I learned so much.
Yeah, Addie's been up there for so long.
Right.
I mean, she knows everything up there.
Yep, absolutely. But the relationship I have with Jim is really cool because I'd like to think we're kind of in that same mode of what's important to you is important to me, and that's all that matters. And so, and it's neat, being with him in places because we're quick to kind of introduce each other to other people, and I think that's really cool, But Mary Beth is super intelligent, when it comes to, how the machine operates in Annapolis, which is very good to have.
And she's on appropriations as Norm was, so that should help us long term.
Right, and and Sheree, being on health and government operations, I mean, just phenomenal knowledge of insurance and all these regulatory issues with it.
And insurance is one of the big issues that confounds
Absolutely.
all the families here that you don't even think
You're
about.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Chris and Johnny on Economic Matters, both very business savvy guys.
Business owner plus
Right.
tourism.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's a great dynamic.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And then you have me and Otto, me and Charles on environment and transportation, where we just get to play in everybody's water.
Right.
So I mean, budget stuff, business stuff, health stuff, local government stuff, environment stuff, transportation stuff. So I think we have the best of all the worlds, because we can just we get pieces of everything in our committee, and it's really cool, having that opportunity to kind of float around a little bit with
Right.
that kind of stuff, and so it is cool. Like I said, I wake up every day blessed, goosebumps. I thank God and grab my cell phone and get to work.
Now, I've heard you talk too about it's so much your job isn't just being a proponent of things, it's having to shoot things down.
Right.
Did you know it was going to be like that when you got up there?
Yeah, we knew. I mean, I had the opportunity when I was president of MML with the first incarnation of the chicken tax bill to go up and testify against it in the Senate, and we actually worked with the House sponsor as mayor to kind of have him withdraw the bill, and now he's one of my best friends. He's a vegetarian. He doesn't know anything about chicken. I'm a guy who eats chicken 8 times a day.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
every meal.
Right. And so we really, connect well, and it's really neat, the dynamic of, everybody, thinks, and all of us at some point think, that it's, just this, and that's not it at all. Not as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I can go to the governor as easy as I can go to the Speaker of the House. Both welcome me the exact same, and I don't notice any difference whatsoever. And it's just really awesome. The first thing I did was is make friends with everybody. It's much easier to go to a friend to ask for help than to have to go, hey, how you doing? Can you help me out?
Yeah.
And so it's just that, those things haven't changed for me. I mean, it's just really cool. I love when we have people from the shore come up. We did tours all summer with folks, and when somebody comes up from session, I mean, it brightens your entire day because you're up there by yourself.
Right.
And so anytime I see anybody, from the lower shore up there, it's like seeing your mom.
Yeah.
So if you
That's
get a
cool.
really big hug, that's why. So it's just really cool,
All right, show everyone that phone.
Oh,
This is the phone that anyone can reach you on at any time.
that's right. Yeah, cell phone number is 443-359-1335.
Now you've confused me. Do it again.
443-359-1335.
1335.
1335. Yep,
And a
absolutely.
delegate will answer the phone.
I will answer it. That's right. I will answer it. You can message me on Facebook, Twitter.
And your great aide,
Instagram.
Bunky Luffman's gone, so you have to answer the phone
So,
now.
well, we have a new one.
Okay.
Her name's Brittany. She's a graduate from SU, and so she'll be working in Annapolis full time. So
Good.
that'll be a new dynamic for us instead of
Having someone down here.
right. We'll have somebody there, and so we used to laugh at people that did selfies. I did anyway. I was like, selfie? I ain't never gonna take no selfie. But we're getting pretty good at it. So right. It's the same picture.
Carl Anderton,
It's the same picture.
thank you for
Yeah,
being here
absolutely.
today. It was
Absolutely.
a pleasure to have you as always.
Sure thing, brother.
He's Carl Anderton, and he's our local delegate. What's your number? 38?
38B.
38B. He represents northern Wicomico, Salisbury, a little bit of eastern
And Fruitland.
and
yep.
down into Fruitland.
Yep.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent, another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.